What's up everyone, it is Omiglio, and I have news for you. On July 29th, if you like the Xbox 360, you will no longer be able to download games going forward. As of July 29th, they're all going to be gone. So I thought I'd make a video on my picks, my suggestions of games that you should download before the store closes for good. So the way I want to start this video is by giving you some food for thought. It's going to vary whether or not you guys are going to like this first suggestion. Guys, this is going to be a time capsule. And I've already done another video not too long ago on my love for the PS3. What's the same thing for the 360? Think of your beautiful Xbox 360 as it's sitting there 20 years from now and being able to look at these trailers that are going to be lost in time. Very similar to God of War, it's a hack and slash. But to be able to have the trailer, to pick up your Xbox and say, hey, I want to look at that old trailer just to reminisce. Well, guess what? You're going to have that option. And for me, it's a time capsule. You can't really put a price on it. And it's always going to be associated with this generation of gaming. Okay, so I talked about the trailers, which as far as I'm concerned, are going to be a time capsule. And they're going to be absolutely priceless. And guess what? They're going to be downloaded directly on your precious 360. But you're here for the games, guys. Let's face it. You want to know which games I recommend. Well, the best way to recommend them is to check out my own inventory. What do I have? If you look at my library and the games that I actually have, I have a lot of Assassin's Creed. I have Alice Madness Returns. And yes, of course, I recommend any of these games. These games are fantastic. Alice Madness is one of those games that if you like I guess it's kind of like a little bit like God of War when it comes to like a hack and slash, but it's like a 3D platformer at the same time. If you like that, you'll love this game. Highly underrated in my opinion. If you notice at the very bottom it says Xbox One, that means that they're backwards compatible, and that is huge because you're going to get a higher resolution, and from my experience from Alice Madness, you do in fact get a better frame rate. So there you go. Not only are you getting it for your 360, but if you have a more modern Xbox, they're going to be backwards compatible. Now, let's look at some of these games here. We have Alien Breed 1, 2, and 3. I love these games. Games that I highly recommend. And last I checked, yes, they're still available on the store. Now, one thing I want to mention is that I've heard that a lot of these games are going to be going on sale, like the AAA titles, so keep an eye out. Altered Beast, rise from your grave. I never get tired of saying that. Of course, I recommend Altered Beast, and that's the arcade version. So, like a lot of Assassin's Creed stuff, this one here, the Telltale series. Now, as far as I know, this game is not delisted, and you can still purchase it. And I think I bought it not too long ago. Highly recommend the Telltale series. Bionic Commando Rearmed, I do recommend these games. I think these are going to be one of those games that are going to be lost in time. If you like platformers, if you like games like that, you should really like Bionic Commando. Let's get a little bit of game footage here and you'll see what I'm talking about. Bionic Commando, the original ones came out for the original NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. And, they're going to play very similar to that. So if you like those games, this game should feel right at home with you. And, very similar platformer. I think there's like a tutorial here. But if you like this kind of platformer with like modern updated visuals, this is going to be right down your alley. Here's another game that I highly recommend. Now, it's not going to be for everyone. Again, it's called Blackgate Deluxe Edition. It's a Batman game. I think it was part of the DLC for Batman Origins. I'll be honest with you, I think this game is somewhat underrated. This is still a very good game, and I do recommend it for anyone that's a fan of Batman and wants something a little bit different, more of a Metroidvania style. And to be honest with you, that's what makes this game very unique, and it makes it its own thing. Like look at the combat. It's not going to be as deep as something like any of the other games in the main series, but it's still cool, and it's just nice to see Batman. It's interesting to me to see him in a 2D point of view, almost like a platformer, like I said, a Metroidvania. If you like this kind of style of game, if you're looking for something a little bit different to mix up the variety, I do recommend this, and honestly, I think it's somewhat underrated. Not even. But yeah, as far as the gameplay, like I said, it's going to be very much like a Metroidvania, 2.5D graphics, and I love it. I like the variety that they did something different, and you see that 2.5D, it's beautiful. I love it. I think it's so different than the other games in the main series. It's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone's going to like this kind of game. For me, I love it, and definitely worth the purchase. This next game that I do recommend, and it is backwards compatible, is Braid. Braid plays a lot like a platformer. Let's get some gameplay to show you. I do recommend this game, and it's one of those that you don't want to miss from this generation of gaming. So this is just the introduction, and you can already tell how artistic this game is. Incredibly charming, incredibly beautiful to look at, and you can just tell this is going to be one heck of an adventure. I guess you could press start to look at the menu. You have ladders, you have a lot to do, so it's going to be like a modern platformer. Very colorful, beautiful style of graphics, you know. And if this is your thing, I highly recommend it. Braid for the Xbox 360. Get it now. Now, here's another gem of a game that I'm 100% going to recommend to you. The name of the game is called Brothers. Truth be told, I have not played it yet, and it's not backwards compatible, but it's one of those games that I know eventually I'm going to want to get to. And from what I can tell, it looks like a very story-driven, great adventure game. Highly recommend it. Now, this is another one, you know, it's kind of going to be a hit or miss with some of you guys, especially depending if you're a retro gamer or not. I'm going to go with Capcom Arcade Cabinet. Now, this game, the only thing that kind of stinks is that you have to buy the games individually. You buy, like, the cabinet, imagine that, and then you kind of add games to it, and the games are individual. I think you can also buy the DLC. This game might be going on sale, and if it is, keep an eye out. I do recommend it if you like a lot of those Capcom classics, like Ghouls and Ghosts, and, well, Ghosts and Goblins, I think, is the one that's here, and Avengers, a lot of classic arcade games. Now, this one is a gem for me. I love this game. I think it's also available on PC via Steam, but my goodness, I need a controller for a game like this. It is like a platformer. It's a Castle of Illusion, but it's like a remake, reimagining, and you know what? Highly recommend it. If you haven't played it, I love it. I'm a big Castle of Illusion fan. If you've seen my videos before, you know what I'm talking about. Now, we're getting into Castlevania series. This is HD. Haven't played it. Again, one of those to-do games I want to get to. And this is Lords of Shadow. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Lords of Shadow. I have both of them. I do recommend them. They play a lot like God of War. Dante's Inferno, one of my all-time favorite games. I just love this game so much. Of course, I'm going to recommend Dante's Inferno. And I have all the Dead Spaces, which, depending on if you like into this kind of, you know, horror game or not, I will recommend them. I think they're all fantastic. What else am I going to recommend? I'm going to recommend Double Dragon. This game is going to be lost, and you won't be able to play it. It is backwards compatible. Jump on this. This is one of those, you know, beat-em-ups that I think you should like. If you like old-school beat-em-ups with the modern twist, you should like Double Dragon Neon. DuckTales. This game is backwards compatible. Of course, just like Castle of Illusion, I'm going to definitely recommend DuckTales. Moving on to Fallout. Fallout 3. Of course, I'm going to recommend Fallout 3. Of course, I'm going to recommend New Vegas. We're talking about AAA heavy hitters. Final Fight Double Impact. Now, I'm not sure if this game got delisted. No, it has. As far as I can tell, it has not been delisted. Of course, I'm going to recommend a Final Fight Double Impact, one of the classic beat 'em ups that really, you know, after Double Dragon, the original, this game just took beat 'em ups to a whole different level, and you know, eventually gave rise to Streets of Rage series. Without this game, Streets of Rage simply wouldn't exist. You also get another arcade game. I think it's a couple of games that you get here. Force Unleashed, of course, I'm gonna recommend it. These games bring a lot of nostalgia, but the best part is that it's backwards compatible, so you get that classic Force Unleashed backwards compatible. Mark of the Wolves, of course. This game, OMG, Ghostbusters, and it's backwards compatible. Let's check out some of the gameplay. It might be a hit or miss for you. I love it. I also have it for the PS3, but let me tell you that it plays a little choppy, as is the case with a lot of PS3 games when you compare them to their Xbox 360 counterpart. Like, for example, Red Dead Redemption. If you compare Red Dead Redemption with the PS3, typically, most of the time, the Xbox 360 had it beat, especially when it came to frame rate. This game does run choppier on the PS3. It's playable, but I would recommend this version to be superior. And when it's backwards compatible, you get the best of all worlds. We're getting to the serious heavy hitters. Talking about Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 4. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5 isn't necessarily backwards compatible, but Part 4 is. Jump on it, man. You're going to get higher resolution. You're going to have the comfort of the Xbox controller. I highly recommend both, but if you're going to go with one, absolutely one, I'd go with 4 because of the backwards compatibility. Guardian Heroes. Of course, I'm going to recommend Guardian Heroes, a classic on the Sega Saturn, and you get it at the convenience with a higher resolution and an awesome controller. Of course, I'm going to recommend Guardian Heroes. Contra Hard Corps. Of course, I'm going to recommend Contra Hard Corps. Let's check out some of the gameplay. This is one of those games that is backwards compatible. Highly recommend it. As far as the gameplay, very similar to some of the games that we've seen, like that 2.5D, beautiful modern graphic, You know, it's still a platformer, but it has that 2.5D look. I love the graphics. I think they look hand-drawn. You know, I can't verify that, but they just look hand-drawn and beautiful, gorgeous to look at. Ikaruga, of course I'm gonna recommend this. Classic game, classic shooter. Man, you cannot go wrong with Ikaruga. This one I highly recommend it. Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection. You get all 3 games, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 in one. And the best thing about it is that if you have an arcade stick, this is probably one of the best ways to play it. Play it at home. Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection, highly recommend. Get it now. Nights into Dreams, highly recommend this one as well. You know, you get that backwards compatibility with the Xbox One and gorgeous graphics, a Sega Saturn legend. Oblivion, yes, Xbox One compatible. I do recommend that. Now, these 2 games are very dear to my heart. If you like that a turn-based combat RPG, it's got a fantastic story. It is adult themed. It's very heavy with the adult themed. I'm talking about Penny Arcade Episode 1 and 2. Don't want to pass these up. This one, OMG. Now, I heard that they're actually making a remake for this game, but this is the classic. This is the HD version that is backwards compatible on your Xbox One. Of course, I'm talking about Resident Evil Code Veronica X. This game came out for the Sega Saturn. Shoot 'em up legend, Radiant Silvergun. Highly recommend that one. Now, we're talking about AAA titles. Red Dead Redemption. Let me just say this. It is backwards compatible with your Xbox One, and it is better than the PS3 version based on frame rate, and I think you get a slightly better resolution and textures. This one, Rocket Knight Adventures, it is backwards compatible. And let me just say this. If you like Rocket Knight for the Sega Genesis, this game is fantastic. I don't know why it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. I have a theory why, but let me just say this. I will do a walkthrough on this game. Eventually, I'll get to it. 100% recommend it. Great game. Yes, I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, sadly, Golden Axe was delisted, so it sucks because this is like the arcade version. Oh, I almost skipped out on Super Contra. Super Contra, backwards compatible with the Xbox One. Highly recommend that. You're talking about one of the greatest beat-em-ups of all time, and now you get to have part 1, 2, and 3 with the backwards compatibility of the Xbox One. Of course, I'm talking about Streets of Rage. Of course, I'd recommend. Yeah, I think Toe Jam and Earl is clear. I think it's still available. That's a good way to own both of them. And it's backwards compatible. Tecmo throwback. Of course, I'm going to recommend this. If you like the old Tecmo games, I'm going to recommend that. This game, Watchmen. Let's check out some of the gameplay. Think of Watchmen, very similar to like the Arkham series and Batman. A very similar gameplay. I do think the Batman games edge it out when it comes to gameplay, but this is really good here as well. But my goodness, it's really good. And if you like adult themed, like an alternative to the Batman Arkham series, Watchmen is going to be right up your alley. And as far as I can tell, it's still available. So I highly recommend this game. It's a lot of fun. If you like the movie, if you're a fan of Watchmen, man, jump on it, because once it's delisted, it's going to be gone for good. So there it is, guys. Those are some of my recommendations of games to buy before the Xbox 360 store closes. Let me know what are some of the games you look forward to purchasing, and if this video was helpful to you, let me know in the comment section as well. As always, guys, I want to thank you for all your comments, likes, and subs, and I will catch you absolutely on the next video.